Good morning to all. It is customary for our culture, or it is a practice, to remember the persons, the elders in our family, or our predecessors in good and bad occasions in the family. And I think it is necessary to remember our father, the father of library and information science, Dr. Ranganathan, in this very good and happy occasion. And I am doing only that, remembering our father in this occasion. Dr. Ranganathan is the philosopher of library and information science. In every nation and in every discipline, there will be a philosopher. And that is with his inborn capability and caliber, and he blends it with the need of the hour, he creates new philosophies to the world. And today's morning mass, the priest who offered the mass, he was speaking on the occasion and he said, it is easy to preach philosophy, but it is always difficult to practice that philosophies. I think we librarians are doing the same. We all studied the philosophy of Ranganathan in our BLIC and MLIC and all through. But how far we are practicing in that philosophy, that we have to discuss over it. Ranganathan's philosophy is based on the philosophy of education of India. That is a lifelong education. Now, I was hearing the previous presentation, the philosophy of their university also, the education which is for the mind, spirit, and for the body. So, somewhat in the same line, we have a philosophy of lifelong education, which aims at Purushartha, when we talk in the Indian language, that a Gurukul system of education was prevalent in India, which took care of, very much care of, the space and location where they educate the disciples. And Ranganathan's philosophy also is based on this Indian philosophy. A glimpse of this we can see in the DRTC campus, where when Ranganathan was there, he took his disciples to the open ground for educating them. And the whole spectrum of library and information science is surrounded by the 5 laws of Ranganathan. And the library space management also is blended with this 5 laws of library science. So his 5 laws, books are for use. So before that, as Anand Srivastava presents Dr. Ranganathan, a mathematician by training and temperament, a scientist of exuberant intellectual, deeply rooted in the lore of Indian thought and culture. That is more important, deeply rooted in Indian thought and culture. He wanted to frame the course or the libraries in India based on this Indian philosophy and culture. So he framed his 5 laws based on this Indian philosophy and culture. And these 5 laws help us how we can manage the space in a library. Maybe his main contributions was in library classification, but he contributed in all aspects. Library management, and his 5 laws of library science, as I mentioned earlier, covers the whole spectrum of library and information field. The 5 laws, when we take one by one, books are for use, each law gives us the importance of library space management. Only in a comfortable, conducive place, the readers will come and spend more time. As he was one of the person who was planning the Delhi University Library in 1970s, we can see a courtyard and a green lawn in the middle of the library where the readers can take books and go to that courtyard, sit in the open air and read books. And he planned cafeterias also in the library so that the readers can spend long, long hours in the library having a break for coffee and all this. So It is not a new idea we are discussing. This idea he contributed long years before itself. And the second law also, every reader his book. When an author writes a sentence or a book, there is a group of readers in his mind to whom this book must reach. And it is the duty of the librarians and the library to make this purpose of the author, those who write the book, to fulfill it. So that they have to manage a library in such a way that every book must reach to its reader. The same way, the last two laws, save the time of the reader, as well as the most important in the context of space. Library is a growing organism. Here, Ranganathan gives us strong guidelines, the principles and guidelines, how you can frame and plan a library, how you have to allot the space for each function in a library, each and every movement in a library, how you have to manage the space inside the library. Normally, the librarians get a ready-made library to function. Very few occasions he will get a role in planning the library building, planning the different sections of a library, and like that. So he adjusts to the available library more than he planned for a library. This aspect must change first. The librarian must be included in the committees for planning a library, and in the architectural way also, he must be along with the architect, along with the engineer, to plan for a library. So if we fulfill the 5 laws of Ranganathan, in the context of library space management, we have to take into account the environment, that is the location of a library, and the space allocation for different purposes in a library, and more than that, the consideration to human nature and attitudes. That way only we can attract the users to the library. And finally, systematic and scientific arrangement of available space. So, fulfilling the laws of Dr. Ranganathan, I am sure we can fulfill all these aspects which are very essential for a space management in a library. With these words, I conclude my presentation. Thank you very much for the organizers for giving me a chance for this presentation. Thank you.